And now, sitting in for Bob Lee, Steve Bunin.
The human toll is immeasurable. A young boy will grow up without his dad, witnessing in horror the 20-foot fall that took his father's life. In the second inning of last night's Rangers game against Oakland, Shannon Stone, a 39-year-old firefighter, reached for a ball tossed by Texas outfielder Josh Hamilton, fell over the railing, and according to witnesses, landed on his head on the concrete floor below. Stone was conscious when EMTs took him out of the stadium, alert enough to plead for somebody to look after his 6-year-old son. But Stone died soon after. As his family begins the grieving process, the sports community shares its sorrow and asks what can be done to prevent such tragedies in the future, and what, if anything, could have been done to prevent this one. Jon Wallace is a safety consultant at the Workplace Group, which studies stadium safety. And John, what is your perspective on the death of Shannon Stone?
I looked at the video this morning, and it appears that the victim had both of his feet on the ground, so I was a little, concerned with that the guardrail doesn't appear to be at the correct height. So a couple things to look at. One would be increasing the guardrail height, and then potentially maybe having the top rail moved inwardly a little bit. I think the entire system needs to be reviewed, and not just at this facility. There have been multiple incidents at this facility, but a fall protection survey needs to be performed throughout the Ranger Stadium.
However high that guardrail is, if there's a drop like that, why not just put some sort of netting 5 feet below the rail itself? Why wouldn't it seem like that would solve everything, no?
Well, my recommendation would be to prevent the fall to begin with, and I think that several things could be done with an architect design system with the railing, and also the railing could be done vertically, the mid-rail, so that people can't stand up on the mid-rail. But at a fall of 10 feet or higher, it exponentially increases the possibility of death. And even with a safety net, you may land on that net on your head. So my professional recommendation is to avoid the fall potential.
Well, what is the biggest factor in determining fan safety at stadiums?
Well, we want to have a balance between protecting, the fans as well as the ability to catch balls, but this is not just an isolated incident. It's interesting, the incident in 2010 happened almost a year to the day, and going back to the mid-90s, there have been other incidents. So we need to look at this incident. The Rangers need to have a design system that prevents people from falling off the edge of the top rail, and then also other fall hazards.
Coming up Monday in Phoenix at the All-Star Game festivities at the State Farm Home Run Derby, baseball is going to put 24-karat gold on the final ball for each batter. They got 10 outs each, and when they get to their 10th out, $150 is going to be the value of this ball. You can just imagine the frenzy that fans are going to jump for that ball. There's a pool in right field in Phoenix. If you were being consulted by Major League Baseball today, given the circumstances of what happened last night, what would you advise baseball?
My recommendation for Major League Baseball is for every team to do a fall protection survey, not just for the railing, but throughout your facility, to see if there's a potential for somebody to fall off an escalator, to get too close to the guardrail. And there have been cases where people are standing on the mid-rail. So my recommendation is to look at the entire facility, anywhere where fans could be located, as well as employees of the stadium, and make the necessary upgrades.
And who ultimately bears the responsibility for stadium safety?
Well, ultimately, that's going to be the owners of the facility. In this case, it's going to be the Texas Rangers. So this is not an isolated incident. We've had several incidents at this facility. So we need to evaluate this and look at long-term fixes, not just minor corrections. So I would recommend, not just at this facility, but throughout Major League Baseball, as well as other stadiums. It could be college stadiums, anywhere where fans and employees have a fall potential. Also, when you have the bleachers, the NFPA 101 Life Safety Code requires frequent inspections of the bleachers. So if somebody sits down on the bleachers, to make sure they're safe for the use and abuse of thousands of fans using those bleachers every year.
Jon Wallace of the Workplace Group, again, in all of your workings, is there any trend types of stadiums, sports that suffer more of these issues than others, or is it just a fluke chance?
Well, I would say when you're dealing with amateur sports, when you don't have the revenue that Major League Sports has, that's certainly a concern. With Major League Baseball, they have the resources. They have payrolls in the tens of millions of dollars. So Major League Baseball has the ability, they have the financial resources to correct this problem. Also, I want to mention, I've seen videographers and other employees of stadiums exposed to fall hazards of 5 or 6 stories. So it's not just limited to a fan going over a guardrail. There are a lot of other fall potential hazards at these stadiums as well. So we need to not just limit the conversation to a fan going over a top rail. Major League Baseball needs to consider all other fall potentials as well, and then to upgrade that as necessary.
Jon Wallace of the Workplace Group, we appreciate your time and expertise today here on ESPN.